I'm Professor Burns, and I'm going to briefly go over fashion mood boards with you. So, what is a fashion mood board? So, a fashion mood board is truly a visual collection of images, textures, colors, and sometimes text. So, I must say, with the text, you don't want to do too much with the text. 1 or 2 sentences is perfectly fine. Just make sure it captures the essence of your collection. You don't want too much text because this is more so visual. So, designers, stylists, and even fashion houses use these type of mood boards to convey a particular aesthetic or to inspire a new collection or explain a new collection to their team, right? Or even a campaign. So, they are very powerful tools that communicate creative ideas and align visuals for fashion projects, okay? So I'm briefly going to go over types of mood boards with you. So the first mood board we'll be going over would be the trend mood board. So the trend mood board truly captures a seasonal or trending fashion element. That can be the denim trend or it can be a floral trend. So these mood boards reflect what's currently popular or forecast in fashion, like colors, fabric, silhouettes, or even patterns. So there are many types of mood boards. Each serve a specific purpose, and this is actually one of my favorites. It's the conceptual mood board. So it's centered around abstract concepts like vintage romance or urban jungle. These boards are typically mood driven and might focus more on feelings, art, and atmosphere. So, the brand identity mood board. So, it's used to represent the core style, values, and aesthetics of a brand. So, these help communicate the brand's consistency in campaigns, photo shoots, and even product design. For example, the Coco Chanel. When you think of Coco Chanel, of course, everyone thinks of that Chanel number 5, the tweed fabric, and then the logo, the CC logo. So if you're making a mood board, those elements should definitely be on the brand mood board if you're doing a brand mood board, right? And the same thing can be said for Gucci with elements that can be found on a Gucci mood board, a Gucci brand mood board. The next type of mood board would be the color story mood board. Many brands use this to help communicate the colors for the collection as well as stylists. So, these mood boards focus on color palettes to help guide the fashion collection or the styling or just the overall mood. And these boards might include shades, tones, or even complementary colors to help shape the design and the mood. So, one thing I would say about color mood boards is that you don't have to use too much clothing to represent the color if you're doing a fashion color mood board, right? You can always use natural elements or like leaves, raspberries, paint, or even macaroons to explain the color. Or you can use, for example, a cat or a kitten, macaroons, and then the focus shouldn't be on the actual clothing. So here it shows the majority of the outfit, but it's cut off. It's nice to just zoom in on a section that has your color, just so we can understand the focus is on color. But yeah, this is okay as well. The next type of mood board would be the styling mood board. So it's usually used by stylists and it helps plan the outfits for photo shoots or video shoots or even styling sessions. and it showcases items that match a specific look. So it can be going with the 70s look, the 60s look, or even the early 2000s look. The mood board would encompass things from that era, just as an example of showcasing items that match a specific look. So this is an example of things that should be on the mood board. So I'm not going to, you can screenshot this, but I'm not going to read everything. I'm just going to read the titles. So you'll definitely need some inspirational images, the color palette, textures and fabric swatches, silhouettes and shapes might be helpful for this mood board we're about to make. Accessories and styling ideas, you can always add that to the mood board. And of course, the illustration or the fashion sketches will have to be on this mood board that we are about to create for our mini capsule collection. So also keywords and phrases that I mentioned before, don't put a lot of words on your mood board. Keep it to 1 or 2 sentences or just a few words here and there. You can also use inspirational patterns and prints, and you can incorporate mood or lifestyle imagery, but keep it to a minimum so that it doesn't take away from what you're trying to show and it's not too cluttered. And typography and branding can also be added. So a fashion mood board collection is a crucial tool for defining and communicating a theme, style, or a collection. It combines a lot of visual and textures and references to give insight on the collection's inspiration, the color scheme, and the design direction. And it should definitely include everything that I just mentioned. So here are a few examples of different mood boards. So you see the color swatches on this bottom one that match the actual jacket, and then you'll see the fabric swatches right under. Then you'll see 2 flats here of the jacket, and then they have quite a bit words here, but this would probably be enough just in this section here. And you can also add the other elements like inspirational images, and they actually use that as a background if you look really close. So for this final project, you'll definitely need a title, season and year, and you'll also want to put some inspirational words on your mood board. You can do inspirational words, or you can do a small description somewhere on your mood board that again explains what this collection is about. You'll need your fabric swatches on the mood board. You'll also need your color story and a drawing of your look. And you'll actually need it on a form or an actual model. So you can put on your look and take a picture and then, prop yourself in there like they did here. And you'll still need that drawing though. Please remember that. So you'll also need your flats. So for class, that would be a mask, a skirt, a shirt, and the final item that you're doing. So these are fashion flats here. Fashion flats are the flat form of your design. She colored hers here. You can decide to color yours a little bit, but ideally flats are black and white, right? So let's try to stick to that. And of course, your name. Please put your name on your mood board. Title your work. So quick note, if you're doing a digital mood board, be sure to print it out horizontally for your presentation in class. And if you're doing everything by hand, be sure to screenshot it and have a digital copy that you can upload to Canva. So I'm going to be showing you how to do a mood board, but before we jump into that, I did want to tell you where you can get Croquis. This is the correct spelling. If you go to Pinterest and you type in Croquis or male Croquis, female Croquis, non-binary Croquis, they'll pop up here. You can use that as a starting point. If you're not comfortable with drawing freehand, you can trace it and put your look on top of it. And you can also go to Google and look for them. And you can also do that for your flat drawings, but your flat drawings are in your instructions of every item that we did in class, so you should have that. If you can't find one, you can still go to Pinterest and type in, for example, flat drawing of mask, and it'll pop up, and then you can just select one that looks similar to your design that we did in class. So this is what you'll be speaking about when you are presenting. So screenshot that and practice that. So let's truly get into designing the mood board. So as I mentioned before, I'm going to keep this here and then I'll delete it as we go, just so you can see, what we need for the mood board. So the first thing we need is a title, but I do want to put my design on there. So I'll be actually going on in with the drawing of my first look. So the drawing of my first look, I have it here already. I'm just going to remove the background just because I don't want anything to be behind it as I'm moving it and designing my mood board. If you want to keep your background, that's perfectly fine. But if you're doing it by hand, I would suggest removing your background from your croquis, your drawing. So since we did the drawing, I'm going to let me copy and paste this so we can come back to it. I'll keep this up here. So I now have the drawing of my full look, so I'm going to delete that. Oop. So this button at the top of the screen, if you make a mistake or you want to go back, you can just press that and it'll bring you back to your last step. You can go, I think it's unlimited how far you can go back, but just so you know that. And just to go over what I just did, I have the BG remover to remove the background, but if you don't have that, you'll have to click the eraser and you would have to go in and erase the entire background. See, I've already taken away the background, so it's not there, but I'll restore it for you to see. And then you would have to actually erase everything in the background, right? So that takes a bit of time. So they do have a trial. Let me remove the background. So they do have a trial for the BG remover. And then they also have, a few deals for students. So definitely reach out to Canva and see what they can offer, or look online for a discount. I'll also try to look and see what I can find, and I'll send it to you or post it in the comment section of this video. So I'm just going to make that a bit larger because it is my focus. And I am now going to, what do I want to do next? I'll look for a background. So this was really inspired by my sculptural background, but this was a look that was shown in Paris Fashion Week. So I'm going to look for, some inspirational backgrounds. I'm going to go with this one really quick just because it's the ideal Parisian building. And I'm just going to screenshot it. You don't have to screenshot it. You can download it. I'm just screenshotting it because it's a little quicker. So I've decided that I want to have this in the background of my mood board, right? So first I'm going to make it really large. And you don't have to do exactly everything that I'm doing. It's just, a quick example of something you can do. I'm still making it bigger by stretching it there. That. And I'm going to move this up. I'm going to zoom in so you can see it. So I'm still on that image that I found. but I want it to be in the back. So there's a key up here called position. So I'll just click on that, send it to the back. And then it's way too dark. I still can't see my design popping out. So I'm going to play around with the transparency. This is also what was done. I want it to be really light. This is also what was done in, let's see, I want to show you an example. It was also done in this. You can see the transparency of the fabric, right? So I used a building, but you don't have to use a building. It was just something random that I did. To show you an example, that can be flowers, it can be sculpture. So let's actually go back. I was actually inspired by sculpture. So let's see if I can find one that's actually similar to what I'm thinking. So let's see. This one kind of blends sculpture and architecture. So let's see. Just want to screenshot this really quick. I think this is actually AI, so I don't know if I like it, but let's see. You can also just have a plain background, right? You don't have to have, a solid background. So let me actually duplicate that page. I'm duplicating the page because I want to just play around with this page and I don't want it to be set in stone. Excuse me. Again, we'll go to position, send it to the back. There's actually that photo still here, so let me delete that. I deleted the building. So to delete, you just click on it, and once it's highlighted, you just hit the delete button on your computer. If you want to go back again, you can just hit the undo button at the top. And I do think it's a little dark still. So, you know what? We'll leave it like that for now. I kind of like that a little better. Let me see. You can really play around with it. So go back to transparency. That's actually okay. But I'll leave it solid for now. And so the next thing on our list, let me make that in white so you guys can see it a little better, is a year and a season. So this was actually, what year and season was this? It was actually spring, summer 2025. So I'm going to put S-S 2025. I'll make that bigger so you can see it. Oop. Highlight it, I'll hit solid. And you can also play around with the text, right? So if you're doing fall, you would put F/W, or you can write fall, winter, but this is usually the abbreviation that we use when doing mood boards, so there's not too much clutter, and just in the industry when, lingual. So I'm putting spring, summer 2025, and yeah, put that there. And then I'm thinking I'm going to actually change the background. I don't like it anymore, but this is just an example. So we can now delete the year and season. And now the title, let me try to see what the title, this is sad, I don't remember the title of my collection. is the Contemplation collection. And let me make it a little bolder. So I'm going to make the background a little lighter because it's hard to see. And I'll change the color of my text. I'm going to, if you want to change the color of your text, you could pick one that's there. Or you can go to add a new color, the pick color tool, and then I'm going to pick the gray from my skirt. Right? You can go to the pick color tool. I can even pick the color from her legs, but that would be too light. So we're just going to go with that one, and then I'm going to pick a color again. Once you pick the color, it goes to this section here, the colors that I've picked previously. So I'm going to play around with the title and font. I don't really like that one. Just going to bold it out and pick a bolder font, just so you can see it a little better. But just choose whatever works for you. But you do have to make sure that people viewing this collection or this mood board can understand the season. So you don't want your words to not be seen, especially the title and the season. So just change that back to black so you can see it. Then we'll take away the title because we have that, right? The Contemplation collection. And then we can go in with the color story. So for my color story, I'm going to go over to the left-hand side of the screen and click on elements. So for elements, you can do the square, or you can do a shape. So let's say we do stars. Let's do stars. I'll click, that's actually it. So it comes out blue, but I'm making a color story. So I'm going to go over to the side to color, and then I'm going to add a color, pick a color, and I'm going to choose the gray that's in the skirt. And then you have to decide where you want your color story to be. But just because we are going to move this, I'm just going to put it here and then I'll change that later. So for the color story, my color story, I only have 3 colors in here. You can't really see with the design, but when I put the model on the page, you'll be able to see my colors are this dark gray, then there's a gold, and then there's a silver. So I'll go back in and change that, but let's add the actual model or the full look on the form or the model. So this is my photo of the model wearing my design. I do want to remove the background because there's a lot going on and you want to clean that up. So that's how that came out when I removed the background. And let's zoom in. You can see that there's the silver here and the gold from the sculpture on the arm. So we can actually change the color to match. Let's see if the color picker will pick up on that. Oop. I'm not sure it's going to pick up on that. So make it bigger first. Then I'm going to click on the star. Let's highlight it. Then I'm going to go to color and choose a color. And then I'm trying to get that gold in there, but it's very hard because even if you increase the image size, So I'm on a Mac, and if I want to zoom in and zoom out like I'm showing you right now, I hit Command and then the minus button or the plus button to bring it in. If you're on a Windows, I'm not sure, you'll have to look that up, but just so you know what I'm doing. So I'm going to try to pick the color again. Click on the color up top and then pick a color tool. And if you can't really get it, you can try playing around over here to get your color as well. So I'm going to leave it like that for now, and then I'm going to play around with the positioning of everything. So for me, I'm going to make mine just a little bit bigger than the drawing sketch. And you can also make whatever you have on the screen flip in the opposite direction. So let's click on the sketch and flip it to be horizontally, so that's facing the other actual form, like a mirror image. So for my little words or buzzwords that I'm going to use, I'm actually just going to use a sentence, and it's going to be contemplation, the moment before the leap. That's a quote from my collection, so I'm just going to put that here at the bottom. We can move it around after, so that description or optional keywords can be taken off. And then for fabric swatches, you can actually screenshot a section of the fabric. If you don't have the fabric, you can screenshot it like that and have the fabric brought in. But I would suggest taking a picture with your phone of the actual fabric and then, layering it on your actual mood board. So just move that up there. So I only have one fabric and then the metal, but if you have multiple fabrics, you can just put the fabrics in a section, and if they're pretty big like this, you should actually make them smaller. So let me show you how to do that. You click on the shape that you want, and then you pull one of the corners to the center, and if you want to duplicate it to keep the same size, you just click on it, hit Command, copy, V. I'm going to do it 4 times to assume you have 4 pieces of fabric, and then you can just layer it like that. Let's do 3 so it can fit there. And you can actually put the color story nearby if you want. So you can, let me put it at the bottom. So we have the fabric swatches, so we can delete that. We have the look on the model or the form. If you want to use a mannequin, that's fine. Then we have the color story here. I don't have a lot of colors, but if you do, you can include all of them and you can make your shapes a little smaller. And then we have the drawing of the look. And then we need the flats. So you do have to put all of your flats for your project. So your mask, your skirt or shorts, your shirts, and then your final project should all have flats, right? So I only have 2 flats here because this is just an example, but I'll add that onto the screen and then remove the background so you can see my flats a little better. And then I'll delete flats since we're doing that right now. Just move that over here. And I'll put my flats here. So I'm going to put the front and the back to my flats because I don't have a lot of, flats to put on here. But make sure you leave some room to be able to fit your flats. And then the last thing I'm going to put is my name. So you can play around with that too. I'm going to make mine in cursive. It just has to be legible. I'm actually going to keep So again, you don't have to place everything where you see mine is placed. Please do what you think looks good. Go with your own design aesthetic. This is just a quick example for me to show you how to compile your actual mood board, right? So this is it. It's as simple as that. And you can play around and move things. It doesn't have to be the same size that I have here. And yeah, just have fun with it. And think about the actual meaning of what you want this collection to say. So you can have a little sentence or a few words and have fun. And this is the other idea that I had. So I guess I can show you how it would look. So if you want to play around with the background, I'm going to show you how to do that. So you can click duplicate page, and then let's say I want to use this background and copy it. So I'm clicking on the background of this building, Parisian building, clicking Command C, clicking off. Then I'm clicking this background for this copy, and I'm going to delete the background, right? And then I'm going to click Command V to put that Parisian background of the building in. But I want it to be behind everything. As you can see here, it's overlaying the actual design and everything that I placed on the board. So I'm going to go to position in the top right of your bar, and I'm going to click to the back. And then that's how it'll look. Let me delete this one. So I'll show it to you up close. I'll present it so you can see. So, as you can see here in this example, let me go back to the first example. So I have the title, the season, my flats, the garment on the model, but you can do the form as well, so the mannequin. And then I have my actual drawing of the look. Then I have my fabric swatches. I only have one piece of fabric for this. So, and it was screenshotted. You should have an actual clearer version of yours when doing it because you can take the picture with your phone. And then I have my color story here. And actually, I would want to make these moons. But anywho, this is the color story here because there's gold and silver in the garment up close. And then this gray is the color of the suit, this gray blue. And then I have a little phrase at the bottom. You can use a phrase, you can use keywords and place them throughout the board. And then I have my name at the bottom. The only difference between these two is that I used a sculptural piece in the back. And then for this one, I used, the Parisian building. I actually like this one a little better. But you don't even have to use a background. There's also the option, let's duplicate this page and delete the background. You can do white. You can fill in the back if you click on the back, if you click on the back and then you click colors, you can, have it be a solid color. So you don't have to have an image in the back. You can just do a color like that, right? Let me present that so you can see. So you can just have a regular background. A regular background is fine as well. You don't have to have too much going on. Oh, my color disappeared there because it was a little lighter. So this is one with just a plain background that matches the color scheme, another gray. So make sure it makes sense when you're creating it and that everything goes together. Or you can add those images and just play with the saturation on them. All right, that's all for today. And I look forward to seeing everyone's presentations in class.